Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me loud? Yeah, nice. I'm Sunil Jardosh from Progress Software. So currently, I work with the database team at the Burlington office. And this session, I will be talking about managing data privileges to dynamic data masking. And title of our talk is 5 Ws of working with the dynamic data masking. Okay. So with that, let me get started with the Good. So this will be agenda for our presentation. First, we will be going through what's the business needs for the dynamic data masking. We will be referring dynamic data masking as a DDM for this presentation. Then we'll just deep dive into what is DDM. Then we will see if you choose a DDM for your solution, what kind of preparation you need to do to use the DDM. Then we will see what we have introduced in 12.a, what kind of configuration, what are the new things that we have added in 12.a for the DDM. Then we'll go through the short demo, and then we'll open up for the question answers. And I will share a couple of web pages that will provide further information on informations about what are the various constructs that Progress has introduced in 12.8 release. Okay. So this is her disclosure. So this information in the presentation is contained in this presentation is for the information and not to be considered as a commitment from the Progress side. So with that, let's get started with the business needs. So recently we have heard from many of our customers that they need to meet the compliance requirement. Compliance requirement says that the unauthorized user are not allowed to view sensitive information. Sensitive information means personally identifiable information. Okay? So in this example, suppose you are maintaining a credit card information of your customer. So you have a table. Table has the first name, last name, and the credit card information. So if any authorized user will try to access this table, they should get the full data. But any unauthorized user will try to access that data, then they should get the masked data or obfuscated data. So that's the business requirement. And this business requirement comes with a constraint. And the constraint is customers have a legacy application, so they don't want to change the code. So whatever solution you build, that solution should not ask to change any ABL code or any application code. The second constraint came that here, what is there on the screen, what is you are projecting to unauthorized user, and what is there in the database, they both are different. So there is some conversion over there. We don't need any conversion overhead or do not want to change any data in the underlying database. Third is, it should be configuration-based. No need in the application, no need of application code change, no need of constraint of no need of changing any application data. The third thing is, as these things are projected to the user, it should be highly performance-oriented and with high availability. So these are, for this business application, these are the constraints that we have. Now, to fulfill this business requirement on this constraint, in 12.a, we introduce a dynamic data masking. Now, here what we are coding just the configuration. We are not changing any ABL code. Second, when we are projecting the mass data, we are not changing any underlying data in the database. So no application changes, no change in the database. That's why it meets the configuration requirement. The solution is configuration-based. What you are coding is just a configuration. Second is, all these configurations that we are doing, they are online operations. So it solves the requirement of high availability. So no downtime when you are adding any configuration related to DDM. And the third thing is, we are not changing any database in the database layer. So when we are masking the data, there is no change at the database layer. So it's at the performance it doesn't add any performance overhead. So masking is negligible overhead to the database. So that's how it meets the business requirement, that is unauthorized user should not be allowed to view the full sensitive information, And the solution should be highly available because everything is online, no change in the database, so everything is configuration-based. So that's the basic introduction of what is dynamic data masking and what business solutions that we are providing over here. Now let's see a little bit detail what's dynamic data masking. Okay. So this is basically used to obscure the personally identifiable information. So it's a compliance feature. And it's a part of advanced security package. So when you are trying to use dynamic data masking, you should have a Progress Advanced Security Package. Now, this DDM is a field level configuration. The field level configuration means whenever you enable dynamic data masking for any of the field, that field is default have a closed access model. So by default, in the Progress, security is open access model. But when you are applying a DDM on any of the field, that is a closed access model. What does it closed access model means? Once you enable DDM for the field, any user who will try to get the data, they will get the mask data. So as soon as I have made my credit card information field enable for the dynamic data masking, any user who will try to access this field, they will get the mask data. Then the obvious question arises, who will get the unmasked data? What we need to do to get the unmasking of this field? So for that, we have introduced role-based access control system. Now, in the role-based access control system, you need to assign privileges or roles to a user so that they will be able to access that field in unmasked way. So by default, everything is masked. If you want to give privilege to any of the user, then those users should have the assigned role and the privileges, then they will be able to see the unmasked data. So in a nutshell, when you mask field, you are putting a lock on that field, and to unlock the data, you need to provide keys to the user. And those users who have a key, they will be able to see the unmasked data. Other user will see the masked data. And that key is your privilege or role. So that's the basic of what the dynamic data masking is. Close access, need a privileges. Now, if you choose dynamic data masking as your solution, what kind of preparation work you need to do for that? So you have a problem that you have a sensitive information in your database, and you want to prevent that sensitive information through the dynamic data masking. And to use that dynamic data masking, what kind of questions you will ask to yourself? So first questions that you will ask is, what sensitive information you have in your system? Okay? So out of all the fields, what are the fields which are sensitive fields? And the second question, who is allowed to view that sensitive information? Okay? Now to understand this two part, let's walk through this business application. So we'll be seeing a business application that's an employee information system. This employee information system will show the employee information over there. Okay? So it has a contact information, leaves, benefits, and SSN. So these are the informations that we have on this application. Now, this is a single user interface for all the users, and based on the user login, some user will get the full data, and some user will get the mask data. So we have first questions that we have the sensitive information in this field. Contact information is the public information. Anybody who will log into the system should be able to get the contact information. Second is the protected information, my leaves and benefits. Only few users should be able to see the leaves and the benefits. And the third one is the highly sensitive information, that is my SSN. SSN is, in the US, we have a social security number considered as a password number or any identity the country provides to the user. So we have an answer of this question, the sensitive information. So out of all this information, this protected information is the sensitive information, and the SSN is the protected sensitive information. Now the second question, who is allowed to access this field? So there we have mentioned that whatever the user we have, those users we have categorized in various groups. First, we have HR manager. So those people who are working in the HR manager, we say they are all the HR manager. They should have a full access to all the data. Second, we have a HR. Okay? So those who are working as an HR, human resources staff, should not be allowed to view the benefits and the SSN number. So they are allowed to view the leaves, but they are not allowed to view this two protected information. And last is our manager. Manager is allowed to view the protected information, but they are not allowed to see the private information. So this kind of configuration we have, this application has this kind of requirement, and we need to put these requirements into 12.8 application. Okay. So far application-wise, any question on this thing, DDM stuff? Okay. Good. So now, before we do the configuration for this solution, let's understand some terminology that we will be using in our documentation. The first term is mask. Mask says that how to hide the data from unauthorized user. That's simple meaning of mask. And it's a field level configuration. So when you are adding any mask to any mask in the system, that mask will be added at the field level. And the mask values field type computable. So in our example where we are showing the credit card information, so this credit card information is a varchar field. Now, if I am masking this varchar field, so whatever the mask value is generated out of this varchar field, that is also of a varchar type. So in your business application, whatever field type you needed, it is compatible with the masking type is compatible with that original field type. Now in 12.8, we have introduced 4 types of masking. These 3 are very easy. A null mask, whatever value in your field has, that value is replaced with the null value. Literal mask, in this case, whatever literal value you are providing, the field value will be replaced by that literal value. And the third is the default mask. Each data type has its default mask assigned to them. So if I have a numeric data type, I have a default value of 0. If I have a character data type, then I have a default masking value of 4x's. So that's the easy part. A little complicated is the partial mask. So in the partial mask, it comes with the 3 parts. The first part is the prefix part. The prefix part and says that what are the prefix component of my field? I want it unmasked, because those characters will be viewed as an unmasked character. Same is the suffix, how many characters in my field, I want to view them as an unmasked. And the rest of the character, that is the middle part, I'm saying that you mask it with the character that I am providing to you. And the last part, this is the maximum character. So he said how many characters I should use. Now in this example, okay, my email, we are saying that this field, we have mask, partial mask, first character, prefix 1, that is, my first character should be viewed as unmasked. Suffix 4, my 4 character will be viewed as an unmasked, and the rest, all the character, will be replaced by the asterisk 4 asterisks. So in this case, whatever is left over, 1 and 4, whatever is left over, it is represented by the mask value 4x. Okay? So that is the meaning of partial mask. In the next example, this credit card example, we are saying that no prefix, everything should be masked, and the last 4 characters, I want to have unmasked, and the rest of the character rest of field is represented by the X. So this is how the partial mask works. If we have a customer table, so this is the example of the partial mask. I have a character field. The default value for the character is 4x's, so it will be masked with the 4x. Partial mask, as we'll discuss, that based on the configuration, it will be masked. In the literal case, I'm saying that Burlington, you replace the entire thing with the unauthorized user, and the unknown, you are null mask, said everything will be replaced by the unknown. So that is the masking part. Now, another important term is the user-defined role. So in 12.8, we said the user will define their own role for the DDM. In our case, we have users which are working as an HR manager. So we say we will define one role for the HR manager. All the people who are working as an HR staff, we will define one role for them. And the third role, whosoever is working as a manager in my organization, I will define a role for that. So for the DDM, based on your requirement, you will be defining various roles. These are the user-defined roles. And said, rest of all the employees are represented by the rest of all. So we don't define any role for them. They are the default users. Now, this is the most important term, the authorization tag. Now, authorization tag is a link between role and the mask. Okay? And it must start with the DDMC. We'll see why it's DDMC. So the authorization mask is, as I said, is a link between your role and the field. So in this case, what we are saying, that I am defining this authorization tag, DDMC, private, and I am assigning this private tag to my SSN field with the default mask. So that's one part of in the field, we are assigning a tag. So this tag is assigned to field SSN with the default mask D. Same way, we have created 2 more tags, and we have assigned them to the field leaves, medical plan, and stock grant. Now, this is the other part of a link. So we have a authorization tag assigned to the field. Now we are assigning this authorization tag to a role. So in this case, we are saying that HR has this authorization tag. My manager has this authorization tag, and HR manager has this authorization tag. Now we can map it with our table. Okay? So it says, whenever we are assigning this authorization tag to the field, we are locking that field. Okay? And keys for this lock is this authorization tag. We are assigning it to the role. So HR role has been given this key, C protected field group 1. Now I say I have someone working as an HR in my organization. So that user has a role HR. HR role has a tag. And with that tag, it can unlock that field. So that's how the entire systems are linked together. So in your organization, you will be having a user. You will grant that role to the user. These roles have been associated with the tag, the way we have did it here. The HR role has a tag, and that tag is associated with the field. So with that, the user now can unlock that field. Okay? So if you don't have a tag, you don't have a key. And if you don't have a key, you will get the mask data. So any user who doesn't have authorization tag associated with them, they will get the mask data, and authorized user will get the unmasked data because they have authorization tag assigned to them, and with that, they can unmask the fields. So the next question arises, who will feed all this configuration in the system? So DDM administrator is the new role that we have defined in 12.8. He is responsible for adding all these configurations in the system. Now, this is the optional role. If you have a security admin, they can perform this task. But if your organization says that we have a separation of concern, like my audit is managed by certain user, my DDM is managed by certain user, other admin is performing separate tasks. So if you have that kind of requirement, then you define a separate DDM admin for the DDM-related configuration, and only that DDM admin could perform the DDM-related configurations. And these are the various operations that DDM admin will do. It will activate, deactivate DDM, grant and revoke membership. So users need to be assigned a role. So those grant and revoke of a membership, managing a tag, creating this tag and assigning it to the field. And the last is linking all these things together. So all these things are done by the DDM admin. If you don't have a DDM admin in the system, then by default, security admin is your DDM admin. So this is just the basic information. What's the current state of art? So you should not be operating in this mode. So if you don't have any DDM, if you don't have any DB admin, then everyone is DDM admin. I think nobody will be operating on this mode. If you have a security admin or a SQL DBA, then those users will be able to perform a DDM-related configuration. And lastly, if you need a separate role, then you can create a separate DDM admin and then assign this role to it, and then they will be able to perform the DDM-related activity. Once you assign a DDM role in the system, your security admin will not be able to perform DDM related activity. It's DDM admin's job, only they will be able to perform that job. Your security admin will get an error because he is not authorized to do that job. So that's the basic related to securities. This feature, what you need, it's an available 12.8.3. The constraint to this thing is all the clients need to be 12.8 clients. If the 11.7 client is there, then it won't work over there. Uh, uh, Security, as we discussed, security admin and DDM admin, these are the option roles. And these two things. You need to know what are the fields that you are masking and what are the users you are giving permission for the mask. Okay. Now, these are the extensions that we have made in 12.8 as we discuss DDM role and for the ProUtil. So in the database, we have ProUtil utility. Now to perform your DDM related configurations, these are all the online operations. So you need to use a ProUtil with these 4 options: the enable DDM, activate DDM, deactivate DDM, disable DDM. We'll see one by one them. Let me jump over here. So enable DDM. So we saw that we need to feed a DDM related configurations in the system. So to feed that configuration in the system, you need to enable the DDM. Okay? But by enabling a DDM, your customer or your user won't get the mask data. So enabling of DDM is to feed the configuration in the system, allowing you to feed the configurations in the system. Now, to activate, or the unauthorized user will able to get the mask data only if you activate this feature. So first, enable the DDM, then add the configurations, activate the DDM. Once the DDM is activated, then only your unauthorized user will get the mask data. Last is deactivate and disable. So if you deactivate the DDM, all the configurations will remain in the system. It won't go away from the system. But if you want to disable DDM, you need to bring the entire system back to the normal state. So whatever configurations you have added in the system, you need to remove all the DDM-related configuration. Then only system will allow you to disable the DDM. Okay? So these are the basics of the ProUtil and the DDM steps. Now, we saw that we need to create authorization tag, we need to add a user, we need to grant permissions. So for that, we have enhanced the iDataAdmin service interface that will allow you to add roles in the system, add authorization tags in the system, add a mask to the system. At present, these things are code-based things. You need to code this thing. So what I told you initially, that you are coding for the configurations. So this configuration gets fed through a code. But in future, we are planning to provide them through our OpenEdge command center. So with the GUI, you will configure everything from the UI. You don't have to code at that time. So till this feature is under development, these are the options that we have provided. We'll see, this thing we'll see. So we have gone through what's a business need, okay? What is DDM, okay? What are the terminologies we should know for the DDM? Now next, see that if we choose this thing, then how can we configure DDM in 12.8 database? Okay? So for that, we have created the Sports 2020 database. And in this Sports 2020 database, the DBS 2020, we have added SSN field to employee table. Okay? And I have this additional users I have created in the system: security admin, DDM admin, HR, and these are the others. Now let's see how this application will look like first. So I'm going to the screen. And here I will just So this is the employee information system that we have. Okay. So on this screen, we have this contact information, and those fields which are mask field, I have colored those fields. So currently, I have logged in as in Sunil. Okay. And if I will try to get the data, get the employee information, so all these fields are unmasked for me. Okay. So now our objective is, if any unauthorized user log into the system, these fields that are this colored field should be represented with the mask data, and if I'm authorized user, I should be able to get the full data. So we'll see, if you want to achieve this thing, what kind of configuration we need to feed into the system. Okay. So I'm going back to the presentation. So first step, enable the DDM. So as we saw in the previous screen, that the ProUtil is extended for this command -c enable DDM. What it will do, it will enable this feature on the database. So once we configure this command, we will be able to add DDM related configurations in the system. Next step. This is the optional step, that if you want to add a DDM admin to the system, so here we are saying that data admin service grant this role. Which role? DDM admin to DDM admin user. So with this, we are adding a DDM admin to the system. So we have enabled the DDM, we have added the DDM admin. Then the next step is, we need to add these roles. We need to create HR manager, HR and manager. So these user-defined roles are not in the system. So first we need to add those roles in the system. So here we said, okay, we have a new interface, the I role. In this interface, we are saying that add this HR manager role to the system. So by this, we could add HR manager, HR and manager. We can create these 3 roles in the system. This we need to do as a security admin, because DDM admin is not allowed to create a new roles in the system, because we don't know whether this role is for the DDM or for what. So as a security admin, you will add these new roles in the system. Now next step is, so we have users, we have our roles with them. Now we'll add tags in the system. So in this code, what we are saying, that HR manager role is authorized with this tag. So we have created this tag DDMC private information, and we are saying that associate this tag with this role. So likewise, as we saw in the previous thing, we have a private field group 1, private field group 2. We can create those tags and associated them with the respective roles. Now, next part is, so we have one link, we have assigned tag to the role, the other part, field, assigning that tag to the field. So here what we are saying, that I authorization tag, set DDM configuration. In this, we are saying that in the employee table, SSN field, we are putting a default mask. And we are saying that this default mask is coming with this tag. So with this, we are saying that this authorization tag is attached to the DDM, to my HR manager, and at the field level, it is associated with my employee SSN field. So with this, we have fed the basic information in the system. Now the last step. Who are the users will be associated with the role? So we are saying that my Mr. HR manager in the system, okay, he is the user HR manager who is working as an HR manager. I will assign the HR manager role to him. So the HR manager user will be assigned HR manager role. So at this stage, we have all the configuration in the system. We have created our roles. We have created our tags. We have assigned tag to the respective field. We have assigned tag to the roles. We have assigned tags to our user. Now the last part, activated DDM. So enable DDM, feed the configuration, last time activate DDM. Same ProUtil command, and you activate the DDM. So with this, once you enable the DDM, activated DDM, Now, unauthorized user will start getting the mask data. So how does all this work in the background? So this is the feeding configuration in the system. Now, suppose you have this query. So it says, okay, for each employee, okay, get me first name, last name, and the leave. Whatever result you are generating for me, ordered by it leaves. And leaves are the mask field. So in the last, we said, okay, this is a protected field. Only HR could able to see that field. Any user who will try to see this field should get the mask data. So this is protected field, mask field. So if this user sends this query to the client, first of all, we need to fetch this data from the database. Now, at that time, when we are fetching the data from the database, this field is unmasked. So if you want to protect your data at the database level, you need to enable transparent data encryption. So if the TD is enabled, then the data is protected at the database level. So here, we have not enabled the TD, so the data is unmasked. It will at the database. Our server will fetch that data and send that data to the client. So when this communication occurs between the server and the client, this data is riding over the wire. So at that time also, the data is unmasked. You want to protect the data over the wire, you need to enable the TLS. Now once the data reaches at the client, what we have applied the BIC law. So client, and suppose we don't have an index on this field. So if you don't have an index on this field, you have applied the BIC laws, and after getting a data, we need to sort that data. So query engine first need to sort that data. So what it will do, it will sort the data based on the leave. So now previously, my first record was Smith. Now instead of, my first record is Brown, 10. So it has sorted the data. Now, so we have finished up to this. We have finished the execution up to this. We have for each, we got our record. We have sorted them by the leaves. And next, we are executing the display statement. So when we execute the display statement, the data move from record buffer to the display buffer. Now, at that time, when it moves from the data to presentation layer, we are applying the masking over there. So when data moves from buffer to outside buffer, at that time, the masking is applied. So when the data is presented to this user with the display statement, at that time, the masking will apply and he will see the mask data. So here, in this case, we have seen the 49. So that's where the masking is occurring. Time when we are presenting data to the user. Now, how it will impact? So when the mask is, what are the places where mask is applied? So if you are displaying or presenting data to the user, at that time, it will be displayed as a mask data, not the original data. Now, suppose you have a buffer and you are copying that buffer to another temp table. So when you perform this copy operation, at that time, you are copying a mask data. Because you are unauthorized user, you are reading the buffer, you are copying this buffer from this one table, database table, to the temp table. So at that time, the mask data will get copied to your temp table. If you do any export, so you were logged in as an unauthorized user, you try to export any data. So at that time, the mask data get exported, not the actual data. Now, suppose you use some variable in the condition. So you are an unauthorized user, and you are using that variable in the condition. So at that time, the value which is used in that condition is the mask data. So you need to be very careful where you are using your variables. It will disturb your business logic. So when you are checking, when you are working your data, you need to make sure that where you are using your mask variables. Third is pass as a parameter, either user-defined function, procedure, internal procedure. If you pass any mask data in mask column to that function, instead of actual value, the mask value get passed to that function. And the last is assigning a program variable. So if you assign that value to any program variable, the mask value get assigned over there. But inside the query processing engine, so where till the data is in the for close or find first, any of the database related statement, those statements will see the full data because the query processing engine is internal to the AVM, and we are not exporting data to any of the user. So no user is able to see that data. So because of that, the entire thing inside the query processing engine is unmasked data. So query processing engine will work on unmasked data. As soon as the data moves from the query processing engine to the user in the form of variable, in form of export file, on any form, then the only masked data will move from your buffer to the user. Because that's unauthorized user, data is going from unprotected to protected, protected space to unprotected space. So that's what's happening in the background. Now, these are the caveats. It's not the full security feature. We are not encrypting a data. So when we are applying a mask, it's pure mask. It's nothing encrypted anywhere. So it's not a security feature. No encryption is applied. This is not applicable to blob and clop, and it's not a quick fix for your compliance requirement. You need to additional more things to be able to comply security compliance. Now let's see that if we have our employee information system. So if you want to feed this thing in employee information system, what we need to do over there. So far, any question on this content? So our first task here, so let me application. I'm just changing my display setting to extend, so it will be easier for me. Okay. Now, my first step, I need to enable the DDM. So now if I run the application again, if I check the status, so my status says the DDM is enabled, but it's not activated yet. Okay. So I will say I will add roles. So remember, we have 3 roles in my system: HR manager, HR, and the manager. So we'll add those 3 roles in the system. So this is the simple ABL application. Underneath, it is using the same ABL code that we have seen in the other screen. Data admin service and the various APIs that we have provided over there. It's just a wrapper over there. So we have added 3 roles in the system. And now say, OK, who will work as what? So we say that Miss HR will be working as an HR. Okay. So granted the HR role to Miss HR. Then I need to grant Miss Manager, she will be working as a manager. So we say, OK, granted manager role to Miss Manager. And last, we'll say Mr. HR Manager will work as an HR Manager. So at this stage, we have added 3 new roles in the system, and we have assigned those roles to the respective users. Now let's add the authorization tag. So we say that my HR, I'm saying that DDM C protected field group 1. So I'm saying that whatever fields I have grouped them in one field, protected field group 1. I have created tag for that, and I'm assigning that tag to HR manager, to the HR. Now, we have granted this tag to this role. Okay. Now, say create our manager, DDM C protected field group 2. So we are creating another group. We'll put some fields in that group, and we are saying that this group is assigned to the HR, to our manager. Okay. And now add the last tag, DDM C private. So we are saying that I have created one more role. All the private roles, all the private information, I will tag it with this tag, and I'm assigning this tag to the HR managers. Okay. So we have assigned, we have created a tag and assigned them to respective roles. Now the last part, that is assigning those tags to the respective fields. So we say, okay, set mask. So we have these 3 tags in the system, and these are the tables we have with this field. Okay. Now in my benefit, I'll say, okay, benefit, that is 401k, who should be able to see? My manager should be able to see. And say, okay, mask is 999. Okay, so we are saying that this field, we have locked, assigned this tag with the mask 49, literal 4 nines. Okay. Now set one more stock purchase plan, again same tag, saying that 9999. Okay, 5 nines. So these 2 fields, we have put a tag, locked them, and assign it to with this tag. Okay. Now let's set one more field. Okay. And the employee information. So here we have leaves. So again, where is my leaves? Vacation days left. Okay. So I say this is field group 1. Okay. Again, I will say 99999. Okay. So this field we have protected. And now let's assign the last field, that is my SSN, and this field is private. So I'll say okay, 99. So far we have added all the information. So DDM is enabled. We have all the configuration in the system. I have logged in as in Sunil. Now get the information. Okay. Still, all the information is unmasked. I don't have any privileges, still I'm getting the unmasked data. Why? Because we have enabled the DDM, but we have not activated it. So with the enabling, you are able to feed the information, but it's not active yet. To activate the DDM, we have to use the ProUtil and activate the DDM in the database. So let me close this thing. Okay. Now, just quickly copy the command. Again, start the application. Okay. So at this time, we have enabled and activated DDM. Let me open screen. Get the info. Now at this stage, though I am admin to the system, but no role has been assigned to me. So if I'm getting the data, those mask fields are coming as a mask field for me. Now let's see the authorized user. If any authorized user will try to access this data, what kind of data it will get. So we have a HR manager. Okay. So we have set user to HR manager, and then we are opening up the application. So in this case, these 2 fields, stock purchase plan, and we have SSN field, we have assigned mask to our HR manager. So we have created 3 tags in the system, okay? And we have assigned only 1 tag to our HR manager. And we have assigned that 1 tag to the private field. So that's why the other fields, my vacation days left, stock purchase plan, and 401k, these fields are shown as a mask field to HR manager. Now, if I need to enable that thing, before that, let's check the message chart. Okay. For the Miss HR, the vacation fields are the unmasked field for them. Because all the others are, we have not assigned a rest of the tag to the HR, to our HR. So that's why all the fields are coming as a mask field to her. So this is how, when the unauthorized user will log into the system, they will get the mask data. And if you are authorized to the field, you will get the unmasked data. So in this case, the vacation fields are the unmasked fields. That's why the HR is getting the unmasked data. But these two fields, rest of the fields, we have not assigned any tag to the HR. That's why those fields are the masked field to them. Now, let me assign tag. Okay. So now I am unauthorized. I am not the DDM admin, so I'm getting these errors. I need to change to admin. Okay. My HR manager, I'm assigning this tag. And my HR manager, I'm assigning the other tag. Okay. And let's get login with the HR manager again. So this time, when I have assigned my tag to the HR manager, he has all the tags associated with them. So with that, whatever fields are protected with that tag, they've been, my HR manager has been authorized for those fields. So that's why, with this case, once we have assigned those tags, SSN, stock purchase plan, and a 401k leaves, it's unmasked for the my HR manager. So this is how the DDM works in the background. At the display part, all the data is coming from the database and is unmasked. When it comes to the display, just before the display, the mask has been applied, and then user will see the mask data based on that login. Now let's go back to the presentation. So this is a summary of the steps that we need to follow. First, enable the DDM. Create DDM admin with the grant permission. So when you create a DDM admin, it comes with the two options. It can come with the grant option or without grant option. If you create a DDM admin with grant option, then that DDM admin can create another DDM admin who can perform the DDM related role. If you create DDM admin without grant option, then that DDM admin will only able to feed the DDM related configuration. They won't be able to make any other user as an DDM admin. So based on your requirement, you create a DDM admin with grant privileges or without grant privileges. Then you create your required roles. In our case, we have created 3 roles. Same way you create your required roles. Then, as a DDM admin, if you have created DDM admin, perform this task of assigning tags to the field and the tag. Last is assign those roles to the user and activate the DDM. So this is a summary of the steps that you need to perform if you need to enable or if you need to use a DDM as your solution for the unauthorized user. These are the various documentation pages that you refer for the DDM. The first document gives the introduction of a DDM, that is kind of what is DDM and how you can, basic features of DDM. Then we have 2 channels to access the data, ABL and a SQL. So whatever we have gone through so far is respect to ABL. But any SQL client who will access to data, he will also get the same thing. So instead of 4 each, if I execute select first name, last name, leaves from customer, order by leaves, then this use, if the user is authorized user, then the select query will give all the data. If the user is unauthorized user, then the select query will give the mask data. So same configuration, you don't have to separately configure it. Once you configure the system with the DDM related thing, SQL client and the ABL client both will get the same mask data. These are the other pages where you will get the iData admin service related code. So these are the basic other resources that you can refer for the DDM. This is a summary of steps. So same summary you will get on our documentation that you need to perform for the DDM. So with the sample script, you will get it on the documentation. That's and the main content of the presentation. So if you have any questions, please feel. Yeah.
You mentioned that it's role-based action, authorization. It can be a little bit cumbersome if you have an organization of 6,000 people with 50 roles to assign every user to this mechanism. And to be honest, I don't think that's necessary. If you have a client principal coming in, client principal has a user ID and it has a roles property. Would that be enough, or do you still need to set all the users to all the roles in this as well? Because in big organizations, this is probably already done in your Azure AD or your Active Directory or whatever.
So far, it's not that, but it would be good enhancement to the system. I will take it to the product management about this part. Sorry. So far, it's not that. Means, so far, you need to configure the things for the client principal comes, but the mechanism I need to check. So I don't think it will work it like that. But your suggestion is valid that it should be with the client principal. It should be working like that. I am thinking it should work, but we have not tasted it like this.
Yeah, okay, because it just needs a role.
Yes, we have not tasted it like this.
It's not relevant, to be honest.
It should work like this. Okay. Yeah.
I saw several times in the order of events that you first need to enable, then you need to set up your rules, and then activate. This doesn't look like you can do changes dynamically at runtime with everything up and running. Like there's a new employee, there's a new table, there's some new users that are joining the company, and you just need to adjust the rules. Perhaps there's a new field that you need to mask. Do you always need to activate, or can you just be always activated and just change it?
You do it once, so enabling step is only once. Okay. Configuration, whatever the initial configurations you have configured, that's done once. Now the use case scenario, what if my new user log into the system? So when you are creating a new user, at that time, the only step required is assigning that role to that user. So if that user has that role, then you don't need rest of the things are already there in the system. So for the new user, what is the role in which this new user, so we are in our employee information system, so somebody is joining as an HR role. So at that time, what we need to do is, when she is joining as an HR role, we just have to, when we are creating that user, we need to grant that permission, the HR role to her. Then rest of the, whatever configuration, whatever field has been configured, it has been assigned to her. So yes, it needed the stepwise process. You need to enable, you need to configure the system, activate but all these operations are the online operations. So when you create a user and that user has some permissions, you can feed it online with the system. So nothing will block you over that, but yes, you need to configure, you need to add additional configurations when you are adding to the user.
So my concern was that you need to activate all the time after you're doing changes. That was the question. Can I just activate it once?
Yes. Yes, you can activate once and add more changes.
Okay, I have more.
Yes.
What if you don't want to use the standard user table? So assuming that you have your custom users table, right, it could be also that you have your custom roles table. And back to Bronco's idea, you always play with the client principal, which has everything. Can you just fiddle around at runtime and apply actually connect a user based on the client principal to a role at runtime?
Custom user it won't, but if you have your own custom user table, okay, if you have your own custom created thing, then no, it won't work like that. Custom, that means you have added a new table from your side that is working as that is stores the role information. No, it won't. It need to be, yes. Because system doesn't know that you have this table. So it's just a database. And you have created a new table to it. System doesn't know that the table is there in your database.
But then you start to apply it to standard users and roles table.
Yes. So when we create this role, those things will go to the standard system table, which is provided by the OpenH database.
Yeah. I have another one.
Yeah.
If I may, sorry. What about updates? So imagine you're in a crude environment. So having a field mask doesn't mean that you don't have access to the record, right? You just don't have access to the SSM.
No, you can't perform any update. So if you are unauthorized user, then you are not allowed to change those fields. So if I don't have a permission, the SSN field is mask field, and I don't have a permission, then if I try to modify that field, I will get an error.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm asking.
Okay, sorry.
10 fields on the screen, and only one of them is masked. Let's say it's the S10 field.
If you don't,
Other changes.
no problem, it will work.
No problem? So it's not going to commit back a masked field or anything like that. Okay.
Because what you are updating, you are not updating the entire thing. You are just touching those fields which are unauthorized, which you are authorized to update those fields. So if you touch that SSN field, you will get an. If you don't touch the SSN field, then it won't complain to you. Yeah. Yep.
Possible to set up the configuration in the test environment and do export and import to production?
Export and import of configuration? And I don't think so. For the replication and this thing, you need to, both the places you need to configure database separately.
Can it be exported? Can all the definition be exported?
I need to check whether we have added the feature to the export. I think at some places we have added that feature that if you export the data, export the configuration, exporting the configuration with the DDM related. So field related thing, that is, I am providing mask to this field. At that time, if I'm dumping that information, my schema information, I have an option that, okay, when I'm dumping my field configuration, I can dump that field configuration with the mask information. So if I'm loading it to the system, at that time, that field, when it gets created with this mask information in it. Yes?
When I would create reports in third-party product, like list label or Fuma docs, does the mask also?
So your question is, if I'm unauthorized user and I'm creating a report as an unauthorized user, and some of the fields in that report is the mask field. So what I will get? You will get the mask values in your report. So suppose I logged in as an HR person, and I'm trying to dump all my employee information. So in that case, my SSN is mask field. But I am not, as an HR, I am not authorized to access that field. So if I create a report of all the employee, so in that report, my SSN field will come as a mask field. But if I'm HR manager and if I'm creating a report, then I will get the unmasked value. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah.
Can you apply it to your fancy new collection interface? So
Can
I
you-
know that you can apply masking on top of the pro data set. Can you apply masking on
No. The masking is mainly applied. So how the pro data set works, it is underneath, it creates a temp table. So this feature is for the database table. So once the data comes from the database table to the temp table, they are always masked data if you are unauthorized. So pro data set is created on top of temp table. So we are not enabling over here in the pro set or the temp table. It is enabled on the database side. So you create a pro set like this thing, but it's underneath, it's just a temp table. Yes.
So just for clarification, so we talked with our colleagues for a little bit before this session starts. So it means if someone sends a query like select all the users of customers which has a salary of 100, so it means that, yeah, okay, so we enable the DDM and yeah, there is one, let's say. So we get the result and we don't show the salary. So
Yes, if your user has a capability of querying the database, then that's why it's just the it's not a full-fledged security feature. If you are allowing user to query the database, then there are various means which they will get a sense of what they won't get the salary complete, but indirectly they will get, okay, that is one user who is having, and if the where condition is exactly this thing, that my salary is this, then indirectly it got the data. So you need to be careful. So that's why where you are using those fields, because the query engine sees all the data. So where you are using your field, you need to be careful. In the ABL language, in the ABL code, when the data comes to you, when it is assigned to any variable, and now if that variable is used in the programming logic, if you are unauthorized user, you are operating on the mask value. So whatever the logic you have written, it is written based on some assumption. And then you are operating on the mask data. So whatever output you get, it is something. So you need to be careful where you are using your fields. If it's mask field and you are not authorized user, and you are using that field as a controlling field, so unauthorized user should not get the controlling privilege with them. So you need to be careful in your application of where you are using that field, and the unauthorized user has access to that field.
So the application can be already written like 5-10 years ago, and this VDM was enabled recently, and all the rules are set by some other person. So this might still happen.
So you need to be, it's kind of two-way. You need to be a little bit of watchful when you are enabling this thing. Yeah.
If someone screws up the admin and a user has got multiple roles where the masking conflicts, one of their roles says it should be masked and one's unmasked, is there an order of precedence that it applies?
No, if you see the now if you see this thing that we have a user, we have created authorization tag, and we are assigning this authorization tag to the user. So with authorization tag, he will be able to see the various fields. So what we are giving them, it's a set of keys to view this thing. So by any mean, he will get that key, he will be able to access that key. So if by any roles, if you have created role and that role has that key with them, and if you are assigning that key to that user, so by one role or two role, or they have both the roles have those keys with them, so it will come to the user. It will become unauthorized only if none of the role assigned, they have authorization tag. So it's kind of top, it's coming down. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Yes.
Again, with the update, if you update a field with the update statement, will you get the error when you change the content, or when you use the update statement?
Can you come in?
When you use the update statement, the field will be enabled. Yeah. And you said it's not possible to update.
No, it's not possible to update.
But when will you get the error?
When it will try, when it will try to write that thing to the database, at that time it will get an error. So as soon as no, I think even there also it's mask field. It will, as soon as you try to update that, even in the display buffer, there also you will get the error that it won't allow you to update that field.
Update by the application or by the user? That's my question. When I try to update it via application with the update statement, I will get an error when I update it as a user, and then I will write it back maybe with a sign.
I'm not getting your question properly, but in general, the rule is assignment or update or any way, a SQL update statement by any means, if you are unauthorized user and you are trying to modify the value of that field at the record, with that you will always get an error. So if you are an unauthorized user and you will try to update that field, you will get an error. Those updates will not go to the database at all.
It's probably not even sensitive, that field.
It's not sensitive?
No, that's my assumption is that it's not even sensitive.
Yeah. If you get an error when you try to update it?
The update statement has a user interface. If you run updates customer in ProWin, you get a user interface.
Yeah, but
so probably the field is just disabled. That would be the logical thing to do.
No, it won't become like that. It will, because when you are displaying the things, you have configured the mask value for that part. And then when you get loaded thing, you are trying to update over there. So first you are seeing the information. So when you are seeing this, you are seeing the mask data over there.
No, never mind. I don't think it's a problem.
Okay, any other question or? If I'm here.
Does a pro data set knows which fields are masked?
Who?
Does a pro data set knows which fields are masked?
No, its RAM table it doesn't have any information.
So you could serialize data set, change the value.
No, everything is masked. So once it will, if you try to, you have buffer, if you try to serialize and put it anywhere, you will always, if you are an unauthorized user, everything is masked for you. We are here for 3 days. If you have any follow-up question, come to our booth or catch me. We'll discuss those things. So thanks for attending the session. And if you have any follow-up question, I'm here. We can discuss. Okay, thank you.